Let's go! We ready? Woo! Let's go, baby. Dummies for sports. Here we go. What tune should we start with? Dun dun da da dun 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 dun. For copyright reasons,
you know we love it.
Right, for copyright reasons, we can't post the actual audio, but
yeah, we can. We totally can. I've heard it so many podcasts.
I know we probably could. Should we just do it? No. On NBC coming after us. What do you mean? The millions of views we're gonna get on this, on this podcast, it'll be on everyone's, mentions on YouTube, and it'll be on everyone's recommendations on YouTube. That will get noticed by NBC, and then boom, and then they'll get us in trouble. So dun dun da da dun dun.
Rocky?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
What? Really?
That's what I just got a text saying.
Oh, that is cool, dude. Big time. All right, let's get rolling. Dun 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 dun. I've been recording for the last minute and a half. Dun 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 dun. All right, guys, let's do it. NFL season. We are 3 hours away, Meisty. 3 hours away. And by the way, Meisty, good to see you in front of your desk with your mic in the formal setting. We did invest money into these mics.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully in the next coming weeks, the desk will be built and the background will be a little different, and we'll have maybe I hope we can have a nice little Ravens blanket pop up here. So we should get dummies for sports banners and put them in back of us as like a backdrop. I was about to say Rocky from Rocky and Micey. We can do that too. Half Rocky and Micey, half dummies for sports banner. We can do that. Anyway, Meisty, let's do it, man. First of all, what's your mic sensitivity on? Yes, let's do it right here, right now. Figure out technical stuff. He's on the fourth dot. You're good. Rocky, it doesn't matter if my mic's on or off. It's connected to my computer.
Oh, you're not using the mic. It's a prop. It's just a prop. It's all a gimmick. See, if I do this, you can't hear me. All right, man, let's do it. Lions, Chiefs. Let's kick it off. Week 1 preview. As you know, for all you yearly followers, we've been doing this for a bunch of years now. We go through all the games. Week 1 is always very difficult to predict, Meisty, because you really don't know who's going to win, who's going to come out of the gate strong. And, it's always fun after week 1, overreaction week, right? Tuesday's always overreaction day. It's like, wow, this guy had one really good game. And we'll point out some of those overreactions as we go here from last year. So let's start it off. Lions at Chiefs. The line here, Meisty, is 4.5 Chiefs. This game is going to be underway in just a couple of hours by the time you're watching this. Probably very soon. Hopefully you'll watch this before the game, the pregame stuff. The Lions, you'll be interested to know, Meisty, have not been in Kansas City since 2003. That's right, 2003.
What?
Because there have been, some things. The one time they played in London, one time they had a different difficulty with the stadium, whatever it is. The last time the Lions were favored, a couple of the cool stats here. Last time the Lions were favored in the division was in the 90s. And the last time the Lions actually reigned victorious in the division was in the 80s. So the Lions are favorites in this division. They come into this season.
What?
That's right. That is right. So they come into this division as the favorites. 4.5 line. Kelsey might play. They might jack him up and, game time decision and let him play. I don't know exactly what's happening with that. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win straight up here. Would I take the spread? I just won't. But it's 4.5. Makes sense. Mahomes going to come out of the gate. He'll probably play pretty well. And we'll see how the defending champs do. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs, Meisty. Oh, we got you.
If we were picking spreads, I would be sitting here picking up the Chiefs spread here. First of all, the Lions, they're worse than they were last year. So, what do we expect them to do? Beat the best team in football? Now, don't get me wrong. The Chiefs now, I wouldn't be shocked if there were problems with the Chiefs this year. First of all, now with the Kelsey injury, and it's one of those things that you can't just be that good forever. I mean, yes, Tom Brady, but and Patrick Mahomes and it's just like that. But how long can you be the most dominant team in the AFC? But the Lions suck, and they're not going to get close. And the energy in that stadium is going to be loud, ecstatic. And I have the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs blow. I think we see a Thursday night, just a typical Thursday night game. Just no one wants to see that for opening night.
Right. You expect to be a little closer. I found it very interesting that they chose the lines of all teams. They could have done Chiefs Bills, right? Could have done Chiefs Bengals. I find it very interesting that they did.
Well,
Chiefs Lions.
You don't want to go. I don't think that's so crazy. I agree not that it shouldn't be the Lions, but I totally don't agree that it should be a big game. It's game one. It doesn't have to be. Anything crazy. No. It could be, but it could have been a better opponent. I could agree. A better opponent. Even a division game would have been nice.
100%.
The division game could have been nice.
Chiefs Chargers would have been great. That would have been fun to watch. So, no, 100%. I hear you don't necessarily need to start off with a bang. So we'll certainly see what happens there Thursday night. Now let's get to Sunday's action. Scott Hansen is back. Red Zone. We got YouTube TV taking over Sunday Ticket and all that stuff this year. So we'll see how that goes. But let's start off with, none other than the Houston Texans visiting the Baltimore Ravens. The new look offense, new offensive coordinator, new receivers for the Ravens. This is the biggest line of the week, Aaron. And if you recall last year, the Ravens played the Jets. They also had one of the biggest lines of week one as well. And they did beat them by 15 points. I think it was 24-9 was the final score there, if I remember correctly. However, 10-point line, very big line. C.J. Stroud, here he is, rookie. A lot of debuts we're going to talk about in the next couple of games. I'm a little concerned about this line. Now, I'm not concerned about the Ravens losing a game. I'm a little concerned about the line. Andrew, Stanley, and Humphrey, probably the three best players in the Ravens outside of Lamar, all might miss this game. So that's huge, Meisty. That really is huge. That's on the back end. That's offensive line to block Will Anderson. Remember, we got the most talented guy in the draft going up against that Ravens offensive line. Stanley won't be there. They probably would have lined up against each other, and he'll be there and he'll be able to make an impact right away. So I think the Texans can cover this line, but certainly I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this game.
Yeah, the Texans even have a chance? No, they have no chance. This is going to be a 9-point game because the Ravens love to not cover the spread on this one. They love not to cover double digits. I don't think we ever cover double digits, besides 2019 when we were just blowing teams. But other than that, we never cover the double digits. Sure. I think we win exactly by 9 points, and I believe that the Texans might not even score more than double digits. So there's your score.
Bengals at Browns.
OBJ's injured, by the way. OBJ
is he not playing?
Questionable.
Oh, he's questionable. Okay, well, of
he's
course.
He's limited in practice.
Let me just put it out there. He's going to be questionable every single week this season, and every season for the rest of his life. That's OBJ.
Yeah, no. He'll be out by week 3, but he'll be out by week 3.
And even when he's healthy, he'll be sort of healthy, sort of not healthy. So.
Right. It sounds like a Ravens receiver.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. 2 of them will be injured by the time week 5 comes along. Bengals at Browns. AFC North matchup. The Bengals are overdogs. 2-point overdogs in Cleveland. So they got the favorite. Okay, it makes sense. You go on the road. This is a great matchup. Remember last week, Joe Burrow's going to play, looks like. Remember what happened last week on Meisty? Joe Burrow threw 4 interceptions against the Steelers. The Steelers ended up winning that game in overtime. And who was the better team? Well, the Steelers ended up winning 1 game in the next 8 weeks. They started the season 2-7. So obviously, the Bengals ended up, making the AFC Championship game on the doorstep of the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Bengals ended up faring better throughout the course of that season. However, Burrow did struggle out of the gate. I would not take that as a sign of what's to come, per se. It's going to be interesting. One matchup to watch here: Orlando Brown, newly acquired, against Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett could be able to feast. We'll see how he translates to the new offensive line. Orlando Brown has a lot of experience with Myles Garrett. He was on the Ravens for a bunch of years, so obviously he matched up with him quite a bit. So we'll see how this works out. The Browns have a very good roster. They're going to be very competitive, but I'm liking the Bengals to come out of the gate. I'm liking Burrow to play better than he did week 1 last year, and for the Bengals to reign victorious. You
know what? Give me the Browns. Give me the darn Browns. The Bengals are going to win, but give me the darn Browns. I believe that week 1, same thing like last year, it's going to be the same type of situation. Deshaun Watson's one game this whole year that he's going to play well. Thank you, Deshaun Watson, for playing in our division. You're going to stink the rest of the year, but your one good game in week 1 against the Bengals. Thank you.
Oh, hilarious, man. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. We'll get to the other AFC North game later because that's probably the best game of the week, in my opinion. Maybe Bills-Jets Monday night, but we'll get to the rest of it anyway. Okay, next, we have the Jaguars at the Colts. I don't know if you recall, 2 years ago, Jaguars played the Colts, and the Jaguars fans had bags over their heads, and the Colts were one Jaguars win away from making the playoffs. They lost. The Steelers ended up winning, and the Chargers and Raiders nearly tied Week 18 and knocked the Steelers out. But last second, the Raiders, that was a crazy Week 18. So that was Colts-Jaguars started that whole domino effect. So we're going to go off the bat, Colts-Jaguars. It's a different Jaguars team here, Meisty. There's no question. The Jaguars come in here as the fan favorites, just like the Lions. I think the Jaguars and the Lions are very similar teams in a lot of ways, right? They a lot of improvements, good weapons. I mean, the Jaguars have the advantage, obviously, a more talented quarterback. But, obviously, overall, people feel like compared to their division, they have the best roster, which is true. The question is, will they live up to those expectations? Hard to know. But the Jaguars come as 5-point favorites. I like it. Anthony Richardson, hopefully he can get something going. I like the Colts picking on upside. There's nothing wrong with that for a rebuilding team to get a guy like Richardson and hope that he hits on his upside. The Jaguars have weapons, though. You got Christian Kirk. Calvin Ridley comes in this year. Hopefully he can be, somewhat of his old form. Evan Ingram over the middle. It's going to be problematic for a weak secondary. So I'm liking the Jaguars here, Meisty.
It is crazy what 2 years has done to this division. I mean, we went from the Titans, Colts being the teams in that division, fighting for the thing, to the Titans now trying not to get the first pick, and the Jaguar and the Colts. I don't even know what the Colts are doing, and the Jaguars are the best team in that division. Back in our lifetimes, that's never happened.
True.
That's crazy.
Jaguars and Lions both being favored to win their divisions is so rare.
Yeah. So rare, and I love what Trevor Lawrence is doing there. I love what the organization is doing. I love the colors of the team. I think it's a really cool team. I think the fan base is amazing. Love the Jaguars this season. I love Trevor Lawrence this season. So give me the Jaguars here.
Fair enough. Let's move on. Bucs at Vikings. Vikings favored by 5.5. So let's do Bucs to Vikings first. So Baker's going to start week 1. I like to say
I'll
that
play week 2.
Probably. Right. How much further will he go? That's the question. But he's going to start week 1. And that being said, the question always becomes in week 1, Meisty, there's going to be two or three upsets. Automatic. Where are you going to predict it, right? And one upset's going to happen where there's no logic for it. It just happens, right? That really is what happens week 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick it here. And I'll tell you why. The Bucs are not a bad team. They weren't a bad team last year. They only had an under 500 record because everything was out of sync. We're talking about a team that has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as their 1 and 2 punch, And we're talking about a team that was supposed to have a top 5 defense in the league and really a top 5 roster, one of the best offensive lines in football last year. Tristan Wirfs kept on getting injured and they had a lot of problems up front. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a team that just was out of sync. Baker comes in there. If he has a half-decent game, doesn't turn the ball over, the Vikings are known to lose games that they're not supposed to. I'm going to pick the Bucs in an upset here, Meisty.
I don't disagree with you. It's a spot. Baker loves to have that one game also. It's a Browns quarterback thing, to have that one game every year where you're just like, oh, this is why the Browns drafted him. And then he stinks. But I disagree on the winner here. I don't think the Bucs have the answer to stop the Vikings offense. That Vikings offense is dangerous, and I believe in them. So I'm going to take them here. I don't know where the score is going to lie. Week 1, it could be like a field goal to win it type of thing. Greg the Leg. I think they have Greg the Leg these days. So,
do they? Oh, yeah,
that's a good thing.
Greg the Leg. Yeah, I guess so. He's one of the better kickers in the league for sure. They like him in fantasy.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see where your upset comes, Meisty, because we're going to need a couple of these. But I know you have some in store. I'm not nervous about that one. But I like picking.
It's really, by the way, I'm going to be honest. I don't have many, but I have
a couple. It's hard to pick upsets. You really don't know where they're going to come from. So that's the difficulty.
Especially in week 1, especially a week 1 upset. You're asking for it.
Oh yeah. It's going to come from a place you don't predict. That's almost for sure. So that's certainly true. Let's move on to the Panthers at Falcons. The Falcons favored by 3.5. And this is Bryce Young's debut. We got a lot of young quarterbacks debuting. We got Richardson. We got C.J. Stroud. We got Bryce Young. He's not put in a great situation here, Meisty. They traded away DJ Moore They really don't have a lot of weapons. They brought in Adam Thielen. He's a little older. Jonathan Mingo, they drafted him. Their O-line is really not good. You're right. Jonathan Mingo, they brought in the draft. We'll see how he pans out. That's going to be an interesting wild card. Maybe he can become something, but they really have not put this guy. You're going to come out of the year, and I stated this before in the podcast, and I'll say it again. You're going to come out of this year, the Panthers might win 4 or 5 games. You're going to be like, we don't really know. Bryce Young had some, showed some sparks, had some moments throughout the season. Overall, it wasn't great, but he wasn't in a great situation. So you're not really going to know what you have from him after this year. You're going to have to put him in a little better situation, similar to what you had with Justin Fields and the Bears, right? You didn't really know after his rookie year. He didn't have a great rookie year. He had that one Monday night game against the Steelers, which I always point to, and a couple other performances, but, he wasn't in a good situation. His team was horrible. So can you really bring a lot out of this year? I think it's going to be much of the same with Bryce Young, and I think they're going to start off with a loss against a really talented team, albeit not with a talented quarterback at Desmond Ridder. If they could tap into his rushing ability, I think this will be a blowout, but I don't know if they will. So I'm going to go with the Falcons straight up here, Meisty.
Quarterbacks in their first game are like 0-14 or 1-13 against the spread.
Is that the case? 1-14? One. That's what it is.
Yeah, they're 1-14, 1-13 or 1-14 spread, and 0-14 in their opening games. I don't know since when, what that number is. Who's
That's
calculated
crazy.
that?
Wow. Okay, let me look that up while you.
Quarterbacks don't win. You don't win your first game. Bottom line, no one wins their first game. But it doesn't make any sense because didn't Justin Fields last year, his rookie year, was it his last year, his rookie year, and he won game 1?
2 years
against
ago.
The 49ers.
Last year was second year. This is third year already.
Wow. What happened? Who won the Super Bowl? I don't even know what happened last year. Oh, my goodness. As we said at the preview, Panthers have to keep him healthy. If they keep him healthy, they'll get a good career out of him. If not, it's an unfortunate career that's going to take a short, turn. So I like the Panthers to win here, though, because I hate the Falcons, and I just want to pick against the Falcons every week, so we're going to go with the Panthers.
Oh, you're picking the upset here.
Yeah.
From the beginning of your statement, I already put in the Falcons on the spreadsheet because I assumed you were going in that direction. No, you pulled the curveball on me. I like it. You pulled the curveball.
Pull it right out of that. Pull it right out of the back pocket.
All right, I like it, man. Let's move on. This is an intriguing game. Titans at Saints. Saints favored by 3. And I think that, the Titans and Saints have an interesting phenomena, very similar going on. The Saints have the problem of Michael Thomas never stays healthy, and the Titans have the problem of DeAndre Hopkins never stays healthy. The newly acquired DeAndre Hopkins, obviously. But it's week 1. They're both playing Meisty. Week 1, hopefully you can rely on them. So they'll both be healthy. The Titans haven't, listen, Treylon Burks really, he made some moves last year. He really did. He's a good receiver. If Nuke's healthy week 1, Treylon Burks is healthy week 1. They're both there. That's a good 1-2 punch. Tannehill's fine. You can get the ball to them, I mean, they're not a pushover.
It's okay.
Yeah, he's fine. You're right. He's fine. But he's not a pushover is my point. And I do like – listen, the Saints roster overall is just much better. They have some young pass rushers against Titans' offensive line that's not particularly good. We'll see what the Titans pass rush can do with Arden Key and Jeffrey Simmons. They got some pieces there. They certainly apply some pressure. But overall, the Saints will be able to get some pressure. There's just too many weapons on that side. Derek Carr does good with weapons. I pointed this out. Michael Thomas will be healthy. They have Olave, obviously. They don't have Kamara for the first couple of games. But it'll in my opinion, I'll be very interested to see how Derek Carr and Taysom Hill do together. That would be an interesting thing to look out for throughout the season. But I'm going with the Saints here, Meisty.
I didn't even think about D-Hop, and then the fact that Burks and together, they can really create something. I haven't even thought about that deeply this year. That's such a crazy factor, but I really like what the Saints are doing. I believe the Saints are we're watching the rise of the Saints and the downfall of the Titans. The Titans had their little run for a couple of years. I like the Saints here.
I'm with you there. I definitely think the Saints are a little better. I think they can capitalize on a weak division. I don't think the Titans are in as good of a position to capitalize in a weak division, so I'm with you there. Let's move on. One of my favorite games of the week, the 49ers against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The 49ers come in at 2.5-point favorites. Very intriguing matchup, Meisty. So here's my breakdown of this, okay? I'll give you both.
It's in Pittsburgh? It's in Pittsburgh, correct?
In Pittsburgh, that's right. And the 49ers are 2.5-point favorites. The line makes sense. The Steelers are a lot of people's dark horses to make the playoffs, make a run. We'll see if that happens. I already drew the comparison between Kenny Pickett and Brock Purdy. I think they're very similar. I think they can both make they can make the easy throws, occasionally make a throw downfield. I think Kenny Pickett probably has a higher ceiling, to be honest, than Brock Purdy does, which is not surprising considering he was a first-round pick and Brock Purdy was a seventh-round pick. But I'm just saying, I certainly think Kenny Pickett, very, very similar type of player. It's going to be fun to see how they can go head-to-head with the Niners, Mike, because you gotta forget, you're one of the best receivers in football, George Pickens, right? Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth,
the best receiver in football.
The best receiver in football, Pat Freiermuth. They have a good duo going on there in the backfield. They can go head to head with the Niners, Meisty. They really could. And don't forget, T.J. Watt is back. That is enormous for the Steelers. We all know how big that is. That changes the entire defense. I'm actually going to pick the Steelers in an upset here, Meisty. I'm going for it. Steelers win.
I can't believe you just did. I was hoping you take the Niners, and I could like George Pickens, game winner. I was going to give you a whole rundown of how the Steelers are going to walk off on the 49ers.
You didn't think I was going to do it? I'm always high on AFC North.
No, I knew you were going to take the Steelers because you said it earlier. You said you're excited about it, but I really didn't think you would take the Steelers. But I'm going to join you on this one. Dude, the Steelers, they're a 500 team.
Of course, 100%.
They can be better.
Oh, yeah.
They can be better.
They can win the division.
And they can be better. And that's when it becomes better. When they win these types of games, that's when you are better. You won the big game, now you're over 500. You're projected for the over 500. Now you're at 9, 10 wins, and now you're at 11 wins, And these are the games that the Steelers have to win this season in order to get to a playoff spot. I mean, the playoffs are wide open for them. Mm-hmm. The Ravens are struggling. Miami's struggling. The Chargers might not get there. There's an open spot for you.
Agreed. And at the end of the day, the AFC is very tough. The Steelers they're a wild card, no pun intended. They could easily miss the playoffs just as easily as they can make the playoffs. So, it's a tough division. It's a tough conference. Let's move on to a lesser tough conference and a lesser, let's say, the two teams participating in the game are not as high caliber as the ones we just mentioned. And there's only one team, Meisty. There's only one team that would be 7-point underdogs against the Commanders in Week 1. Who's that team, Meisty?
Fly, Cardinals, fly.
Did you check? Or you just knew?
No, I mean, I have to know all the games. I've been betting.
You're well equipped. Good for you. You did your research, as did I. Okay, good. We do some research over here occasionally. Depends, if we're in a good mood or not. So let's do it.
If you're betting on the games, though, we can shorten.
You better do your research. Yep, I agree. Well, better that than throw away your money. Commanders got a touchdown advantage at home in FedEx against the Cards. And honestly, Meisty, you got Hollywood Brown. Michael Wilson's going to be intriguing to see how he does as a rookie. Josh Dobbs is starting, Meisty. Who said? I mean, that was random, right? I thought it was going to be Clayton Tune or Colt McCoy. I don't even know who the heck they were going to put out there. But Josh Dobbs. I don't know Colt didn't. Josh Dobbs just hangs around, and every once in a while someone starts him, and he loses again. The truth is, Josh Dobbs is okay. He did fine for the Titans last year, but as long as Sam Howell plays a decent game, doesn't turn the ball over, I'm taking the Commanders in this one.
Yeah, I don't even think the Commanders. They can cover this. I know it's crazy, but they can cover this because here's one thing, Donnie. They sold the team. That team was sold, and the fan base has completely sold. They for the first time I think since the 90s that stadium is sold out.
Is that right?
So
is that right?
Something like that. I don't know. I don't want to be. Don't quote me, but something like that. The fan base. As soon as they sold the team, the fans were buying tickets. That stadium's gonna be rocking. That team's gonna be rocking. Their scary Terry's gonna be rocking. Maybe we go. Maybe I should go down there during the Ravens game. I'll drive down there.
Do it.
See, if Avi wasn't doing the tip off.
All right. Tip-off I heard it's at 1 o'clock.
I heard it's at 1 o'clock.
I heard. Well, yeah.
At 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I heard the Hawks.
We will be at tip off at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Not watching football with.
Yeah. If you know, you
Not true. It's such a lie. I will be watching Red Zone on my phone. Let's be
right. I said the same thing. I'm like, everyone's got their phones. They're going to be watching on the... Anyway.
Hey, I thought Avi the same thing. I said, Avi, I'm sorry that your child's, but we will be watching football.
Right. Half the people will be attending will go ahead and pull out their phones and be watching Red Zone. Scott Hansen, first week of the season. You best believe
the
it.
best bit, you know what I'm really excited for? You know what's my favorite part of it all?
What's that?
When you have a bunch of people illegally streaming it or watching it on a stream or however they're watching it on their phone, no one's on the same part. So one guy, touchdown, and it's like 3 seconds later, touchdown. It's like,
so true.
Oh, darn it, 8%. Everyone knows.
Why'd you give it away? Don't react.
Oh, shit. Oh, go to the other room. Go to the other room.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
Let's get back to it. The Commanders are going to crush the Cardinals. I don't like the Cardinals this year. The Cardinals might not even win 2 games, so they're definitely not winning this one.
All right. We'll see about that. Man, let's move on to a more intriguing matchup. The Dolphins at the Chargers. Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa, did I pronounce that right, were picked back-to-back. Tagovailoa. By the way, his brother playing on Maryland looks good. He's looked good for them. He's been there for a couple of years. He's a good player. He's a good player. He wasn't quite as good as Tua in college, but he's a good player. Anyway, Chargers, Herbert and Tua were picked back-to-back in the draft, so this is, they're going to be foes for the rest of their career. I mean, Herbert's clearly better, but, Tua's got a good situation there. Last year, the Chargers, Tua went 10 for 28, and the Chargers defense, without Joey Bosa, just absolutely shut down this offense. And the Chargers defense last year was not exactly a defense that just came out of the gate and shut down high-flying offenses, and they did it. Maybe they have their number, maybe they don't, but I'm liking the Chargers to come out of the gate quickly again here and defeat the Dolphins in Week 1.
The only thing Tua might possibly beat, what's his name, Justin Herbert in is a Super Bowl. The only reason is because the Chargers will never win a darn Super Bowl, and Miami has a much better. Other than that, this game is going to the Chargers. Miami, I don't know. There's something about them that tells me that they don't have the right pieces this year, and McDaniels is like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I think they're partying too hard.
He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy.
They bring him to another city. I like him. I do like him as a coach. I like him as a personality.
Yeah.
But I believe as well, like you, the Chargers should win this game.
Okay, let's move on to the Packers and Bears. I don't own you anymore, for all those that know what I'm talking about.
There.
So, no more Rodgers between the Packers and Bears. It's the first time in, a decade and a half, at least. It's over a decade and a half at this point. And Meisty, mind you, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs both are questionable. I mean, this is going to be an absolute disaster. Listen, I'm intrigued by what Jordan Love can do. I really am. He's got a good offensive line. He should have time to throw this season. But, you're missing both those receivers, which seem to be on the come up throughout the course of the season last year. Yeah. Progressively got better. The Bears, what happened to the Bears Week 1 last year? They beat the San Francisco 49ers. It was a monsoon. It was a crazy game. Advantage went to the running game, which was obviously Justin Fields. But they did beat the Niners Week 1 last year. People forget that. So I think they'll come out. They have a one point advantage. The spread is -1 in favor of the Bears. I'm going to take the Bears.
If you listen to our preview, if you go back, the Bears. If you listen to our preview, I have the Bears winning the division. So I will take in this game the Bears.
Did you pick the Bears to win the division?
I did.
What? I don't remember that.
I don't know if I did. Okay, I'm doing now.
No, there's no way you picked it. You picked.
There's no way I did it because I have.
You picked the line.
I have so much money.
Oh no, I did that with Yehuda.
Yeah, I have so much money riding the Bears to win.
You really think the Bears? Really?
I'm almost as confident I was last year's Vikings pick. That's how confident I am in this.
Okay, now
that division, I think that division is atrocious. It's 2 teams in that division. There are 2 teams that have a chance in that division. It's the Vikings and the Bears. I think the Lions are the most overrated team in that division, and I think the Packers are just starting to rebuild, and they're just not going to have it this year. So they're just going to be 3rd or 4th, and the Lions will either hit or miss the 3rd or 4th spot also. I think it's between the 2 teams, and the Vikings and the Bears, and I do think the Bears figure out a way to win. I think the Bears sweep the Vikings even in their matchups, like something crazy like that. That's how they get their win. Or, I don't know their schedules when they play. So, but.
All right, listen, you brought up last year's Vikings. I can't argue against it, or else I'm going to look like a fool once again. Let's move on again to the Raiders.
This is here, this is where you got me back. You're like, are you a fool?
Right,
and now you get the post. You say,
right. Fool. So you get them right sometimes, but you get them wrong sometimes, but you come back with a W right after that. Exactly, that's right. Redemption. Yeah, no, listen, it's not. Listen, I happen to think that this division can go a lot of different directions. I think the Lions are by far the most talented team there. The Vikings are a wild card. The reason I think the Vikings won't do as well this season is because they just won't win as many close games, and that was every game last season. A couple bounces don't go their. That's it. A couple of bounces don't go their way, and they have 7-6 wins. So I agree with you there. But the Vikings rarely are terrible. They're rarely terrible. They're generally in that mediocre range. Even if they're not as good as they were last year, winning double-digit games. So, yeah, it's not crazy.
Do you really believe the Lions? You really believe that the Lions can win the division? Come on.
Yehuda and I both said we're reluctantly picking the Lions, and that's the way I feel.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's why I can't do it. That's why I just can't do it. And I can't pick the Vikings. I can't pick the Vikings because there's so many reasons that the Vikings are just going to do horrible.
Fair. No.
I'm like, let me just. There you go. The Bears, dude. All I had to do was. The Bears were the exact opposite, by the way, of the Vikings last year. Everything just bounced away from them.
They just didn't have a good roster at all. They couldn't construct anything there. They even traded away Roquan Smith halfway through the other best players they were getting rid of. I don't know, man. No. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Raiders at Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.5. Sean Payton stint starting in Denver. It's interesting, after the disaster Denver had last year, they're still 3.5-point favorites, albeit at home, where they weren't good last year. And let's do a little week one flashback right now, Meisty. Last year, Monday Night Football, Russell Wilson against his former team, and we all know what happened, the debacle at the end, and it was just the debacle at the end, and it was just all downhill from there. So how will they respond? They bring in Sean Payton to replace Nathaniel Hackett. What will happen? The Broncos have talent. They have a talented defense. They have receivers. We all know Jerry Jeudy's good. I don't know if Tim Patrick's going to play at all this year, but Cortland Sutton's still there if he can come back. Can Russ play better? I think he'll play better, but again, I'm going to pick an upset here. I'm not a big Jimmy G fan. I'll tell you, I'm not a big Jimmy G fan, and you know this, but I think that with Devonta Adams and enough pieces there that they're going to actually pull off an upset, and I think Denver's not going to be great again this year. So I actually think that the Raiders are going to pull a week one upset against the Denver Broncos in Mile High.
I'm struggling on an upset here this week. How do you not like Sean Payton? He's such a good coach. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people that don't like Sean Payton. He's such a good coach. Did you hear what he said to Russell Wilson? He was like, "Stop kissing them kids. You're not running for office."
I didn't hear that. Oh my.
Yeah, I saw that quote today. I'm like, that's great. That's a real quote. I love it. I think he will make the change in Denver. Denver is very talented. Denver last year was very talented. They went for it all last year. Obviously, they didn't hit, but they were going for it all. They were going for the Super Bowl last year, right? Prior to the season, they are a big playoff team. But I think Denver has it a little bit better than what's going on there. There's no defense going on in Vegas. Was it Chandler Jones? Whatever his name is, might not even play. We don't trust Jimmy G. They don't have they never had D-Hop. They have Devontae Adams. That will help them. Other than that, I don't like it. Give me Denver.
Okay, now we have the Eagles at the Patriots. This is one of my easiest matchups to predict. The Eagles are favored by 4 on the road. The Patriots did not do enough to provide weapons for Mac Jones. You get Juju. I mean, Juju's a fine receiver, but he's not a number one.
They give him an offensive coordinator.
True. I mean, we'll see how that translates. You're right. We'll see how that translates. But in terms of just players on the field, you have Juju, Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne. He's just not good enough, Mac Jones had a great rookie year, fell off last year. Can he bounce back? Maybe. 2 offensive linemen are questionable for this game. 2 starters for the Patriots. I don't see a way the Patriots beat the Eagles here. I'm going with the Eagles.
What's the spread?
4 in favor of the Eagles on the road. The Eagles get 4 on the road.
Should be like 12. To be honest, the Eagles are a better team than they were last year, pretty much.
Well, they're the same, but even that, right? Maybe, correct, yeah.
Even if they are a tad less than last year, they're still crushing the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you there.
So 4.5. That's Meshuggah. Someone must have placed a fatty bet to make those odds move. That's crazy.
Bill Belichick is never, at home isn't gonna be, they're not gonna have a huge line against.
We're not in the Tom Brady. We're not in the Tom Brady era. We're in some Mac Jones, hit or miss football. All right.
No, I'm with you there. Listen, I don't think they have enough pieces around Mac Jones. I think he's fine, but I think you need to put more weapons around him if you want to succeed with him. So, I'm with you there. Rams at Seahawks.
Defense, by the way, they do have a good defense, but
we'll see. Yeah, it's not bad. We'll see how that goes throughout the season. I mean, they have just a very average team across the board. It's a very average team, and in a division where they needed to get better and they didn't. So, big problem. Rams at Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 5.5. Cooper Kupp is already injured, Meisty, and he's out for a couple weeks, they're saying now. That's what I saw. So, listen, man, Stafford, great. Stafford's going to be healthy this year. Throwing to whom? Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Van Jefferson.
Right, Van Jefferson, Skoranek, Tyler Higbee. Decent weapons, but only when you have Cooper Kupp in there. Yeah, I mean, again, decent weapons when you have Cooper Kupp in there, but when you don't have him, the Rams are just... What?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So I just listen. You know, the one thing the Rams have going for them this week is that Aaron Donald is an absolute Seahawks crusher. He just kills the Seahawks every time he plays them, and which he's done many times over the last number of years because they're in the same division. So Aaron Donald will wreak havoc. But the problem is you don't really have anyone taking attention away from him now. You have to rely on Leonard Floyd a little more. I don't know if Aaron Donald. He's getting older. He's still a fantastic player, but you need other pieces up front in order to take attention away from him. And I don't know if they have that. You double team him, you triple team him if you need to. And I think the Seahawks should be able to win this game. That's my opinion.
I agree. I'm not even going. I mean, there's no more that needs to be added to what the Rams-Seahawks situation is. The Seahawks are them, and the Rams are won their Super Bowl. That's not it.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl.
I think the Seahawks. Yeah, the Rams won their Super Bowl. We said this in the preview. They won their Super Bowl, and they're out the door. That's it. So I'll take the Seahawks here.
We mentioned this, in 2021 when they were making that run. We said the Rams are going all in. Like if they don't win this year, they're not going to win. But they have to win this year, and they did. They ended up winning, which I didn't see coming. But we knew there was a chance this year. They have Von Miller, they had OBJ. They finally went all in, and we said if they don't do it this year, they missed their window. Which sure enough is looking perfect right now. That's right because now they look like they're in a rebuild. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I agree. I don't think the Rams will be particularly good either. Oh. Let's move on. Sunday night football. Now we could really do dun dun da da dun dun da 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 da. Cowboys at Giants. I
don't even know the new Thursday.
I'm a little underwhelmed by this matchup, Meisty. Cowboys.
Amazon Anthem. Is it different? Is it the same as always? Something?
No. Wait. Oh no. This Sunday night football is Amazon is Thursday night football. Amazon Thursday night football. You're free. Yeah. Oh, you were frozen. You're a little choppy here, Meisty. But I'll start talking about Cowboys and Giants, and hopefully in a minute we'll get you back. So Cowboys favored by 3.5 at the Giants. You guys already know I don't love Dak Prescott, but on the other hand, you do have to understand that although he had 1 million interceptions last year, and everyone likes to point to that and say this guy stinks because he had 1 million interceptions last year. He had a lot of bad turnover luck. If you really go back and look at the tape and look at the interceptions, there was a lot of bad turnover luck in there. I'm not saying he's not a guy that's going to have a lot of turnovers every year and a lot of interceptions. He will. That's his style of play. But at the end of the day, Dak Prescott's a fine player. You bring in Brandon Cooks. I love that addition to go with CeeDee Lamb. Hopefully Michael Gallup can stay healthy. The Cowboys have a good team, Meisty. They have one of the best rosters in the NFC. Now, is that saying much? Probably not. But I certainly think they have one of the best rosters in the NFC. I'm not a big Daniel Jones believer. I don't think the Giants will do what they did last year. And I think the Cowboys will start off with a victory on Sunday Night Football in the Big Blue.
Some guy on ESPN. This is why some people don't deserve jobs. I won't say names. I'm not going to say names because I'm not trying to get anyone fired from the million of listeners that we have. And like the ESPN owners are listening. But one of your guys from ESPN.
My guys?
The Cowboys over the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
My guys?
No. Are you an ESPN guy?
No, I never watch ESPN.
Oh, you're a PFF guy.
Yeah.
ESPN. Yeah, someone on ESPN today predicted Cowboys over the Ravens. Cowboys stink. Dak Prescott can't win the playoff game if his life depended on it.
That's true, but the Cowboys don't stink.
They don't stink. They're in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs.
Right.
They're going to make the playoffs. So what? They make the playoffs, and that's as far as they go. They go to the playoffs.
Fine.
As far as they go. Every freaking year. It's so sad. That is the saddest thing. That is the saddest thing in the world. To just go to the playoffs every year, that is the saddest thing. Get knocked out in the first round, that is sad. I'm sorry. Get rid of him. You know what they should do? Dak should get them to the playoffs, and Trey Lance should come in and play for him in the playoffs. That's how they win the Super Bowl. Cowboys, there's your key to victory, baby.
Over under week 8 until Trey Lance comes in at starting quarterback. Over under. What are you calling over here?
No, he won't. They paid too much money. They paid Dak. They paid Dak way too much.
Also, Dak is better than him.
In fact, if they don't use him at all this year, that's bad.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, Dak is better than Trey Lance. So, he just is.
For sure, 100%. Even with the interceptions, just the field general.
Correct.
Yeah. You don't trust Trey Lance. But if they don't use Trey Lance at all throughout the season, that's crazy. If there's a blowout, if they're in a blowout situation, if Trey Lance isn't seeing the ball, come on.
Granted. All right, let's move on.
Giants, by the way. If you didn't know, I'm picking the Giants.
I got all your things wrong because I keep on putting in the thing I think in the spreadsheet already, and then I keep on getting it wrong. So, all right, my favorite game of the week: Bills at Jets. No, actually, I think Niners at Steelers might be my favorite game of the week. But this is up there. This is an intriguing storyline, right? You got
Monday game. This is your favorite Monday game.
The favorite game on Monday, right? Well, if Sunday Night Football goes into overtime on the East Coast, you never know. Cowboys and Giants might end up being your favorite Monday game. So the Bills are favored by 2.5. Allen versus Rodgers. This is the new division, Meisty. Allen versus Rodgers. It's really crazy.
Not really, but
well, listen.
It's only for 2 years. 3
years.
It's
intriguing. It's intriguing. That's a good word to say. Yeah. Listen, the Jets have a nasty defense. They just do. I draft them in fantasy. I don't know how they slid all the way to the last round because I don't draft defenses to the last round. Everyone knows that. But they're playing the Bills this week. It's not a great matchup. I think that's probably why they slid, just because of the week 1 matchup, which happens with defenses because people slide them. But I do think they have one of the best defenses in football. They have a great defense. They'll give. Well, I'm looking forward. Sauce Gardner versus Stephon Diggs. That's a great matchup. I'm very much looking forward to that. Or Gabe Davis to take away that big play. That's what Gabe Davis does. He's a big play machine. And Sauce Gardner can shut down anyone. By the way, I'm predicting right now, if I were to predict the best player, so PFF pretty much has okay, let's talk about this in a second, okay? But we'll get back to Sauce Gardner in a second. Von Miller out till week 5. That's going to hurt the Bills. They spent a lot of money on him. We predicted we announced mid-podcast about that Von Miller. That was very fun. I actually just watched that a few days ago. That was very funny.
That was a lot of fun.
And Garrett Wilson could create mismatches for this defense. I certainly think so. But on the same token...
Another announcement on the podcast live.
What happened?
Dun, 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 dun. Travis Kelce out tonight.
Oh, he's officially out. Okay. Well, you picked the Chiefs.
Sorry, back to where
I'm sticking. I'll still stick with the Chiefs, but I think we both will. But that certainly does change things. He's a game wrecker. So yeah,
the line doesn't even move. I don't think anything moves.
Right. We'll have to check that in a second. But I'm gonna pick the Bills here. I think they have too much firepower. But watch out for the Jets. The Jets are a good team. I don't think they're gonna exceed expectations because they have very high expectations this year. I do think they'll have a hard time making the playoffs simply because of the caliber of talent in the AFC. That's simply the reason. They have a very good team, a very good roster, but I think Rodgers has taken a step back. I don't think he's old Aaron Rodgers anymore. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I just don't think he's old Aaron Rodgers anymore. So I think the Bills are going to win this game.
Listen, you went from Offensive Rookie of the Year with Zach Wilson. We spoke about this before, but we'll speak about it again. Excuse me. With Zach Wilson throwing the ball.
Oh, yeah.
No, Garrett Wilson won the Rookie of the Year with Zach Wilson throwing him the ball.
Right.
He now has Aaron MFer Rodgers throwing him the ball, okay? That makes it. I don't care if Rodgers is taking a step down, if he's playing at 50% of what he did in previous years. He is still going to be better than Zach Wilson up here. He'll be better on the floor, on the field. If you don't see the Rodgers to Wilson connection, that's going to be insane this year. We're going for 4 touchdowns this year, the two of them. This week, 4 touchdowns connected between the two of them. It's going to be insane. 35-20, 35-30. Jets.
I like the score prediction. I like it. I tend to agree with you there. I think that, if you look at it in terms of logic, right? So Garrett Wilson, Offensive Rookie of the Year with no quarterback. This year he gets Aaron Rodgers. Even if Aaron Rodgers isn't Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers anymore, he's still far better than Zach Wilson. So 1 + 1 = 2. I certainly agree with you there. I just don't always think things line up the way that they seem they should. That's really my problem. Things don't always work out that way. So that's my reluctancy here. But and they're playing against one of the best teams in football. There is what to say that the Bills' window has closed. I don't think that's true. But for some reason, people are jumping on this bandwagon. I don't know.
Can we say that Aaron Rodgers? This is going to sound crazy. First of all, Aaron Rodgers is in a much happier place than he was when he was in thing. That's not so crazy. And that matters. We know that matters to players. They have to be in a happy place to play their game correctly. Aaron Rodgers is better of a player today than Tom Brady was when he went to the Buccaneers.
I don't think that bears out in terms of statistics and on-field performance. If you want to look at the evidence for Brady over the last couple of years, until last year, Brady was one of the best quarterbacks in football, even in Tampa Bay. He was.
He had one of the best receiving corps. Exactly what Rodgers has. Rodgers has all the talent around him. There's no excuses for Aaron Rodgers to fail other than the fact that his offensive line has question marks. Other than that, but being Aaron Rodgers, he should be on a top level. He should be playing at a top level. There's no excuses. I don't want to hear it. I'm old, nothing. You are a top player with a top team. Go play a top tier.
It's possible. The one thing I will say, and that I wanted to mention before, was that I think that PFF has this award where they predict, which I think is a great award. It's not MVP. It's the best player in the league. That's simply the best player. So MVP is stupid because it's going to quarterback. If you're talking about value, you can't possibly be more valuable than a quarterback. It's nearly impossible, right? So obviously that's always going to be quarterback. But here, every position is on the table. And I think my player that I'm going to predict for best player is Sauce Gardner. I really like this as the best player, and that's difficult in today's NFL to be the best player in the league as a cornerback, where all the advantage goes to the receivers, and where there are so many talented receivers, and he's going to have a lot of difficult matchups. Sauce Gardner is that good. This guy's so fun to watch. He can really shut down an entire side of the field. I mean, he's the only true shutdown corner we have in today's NFL. We haven't had many of them in the last couple of decades. Darrelle Revis we had, but you want to talk about real, true shutdown corners. He's one of them, and I'm actually predicting him right now on the table to be the best player, to get that PFF award of the best player in the league right now.
Dude, I'm a big... Listen, the matchup I've always just wanted to see time and time again and again and again. Every single week for 17 weeks of the season, George Pickens versus Sauce Gardner, I think is just... Rocky, you know what I would do to just be able to watch that 17 weeks a year? Woo!
It's too funny.
I will say this. I'm going to give you an over-under, and I expect you to pick the under here.
Okay.
How many touchdowns does Sauce Gardner allow this year? Over-under. 2.5.
That's the real thing?
Let's be honest. No. I'm making it up. My computer actually just shut down on me.
I will say they won't target him much. They'll pick pick their battles with someone else. So the less he's targeted, the less touchdowns.
Oh, by the way, sad for other teams. When you go to pick the other side, it's DJ freaking Reed, who's almost as good as Sauce Gardner.
I know.
The only reason why he's not being looked at not like Sauce Gardner is because Sauce Gardner's there. But that man is playing, and he deserves it, and he will get. And you know when you'll see it is when he gets that big contract. Him and Sauce Gardner together will sign their big contract. And that Jets defense, they are a Super Bowl team. They have the talent, they have the players, they have the veterans for it. They are hungry for it. And New York, you don't deserve it.
I agree with you on the Jets defense. Do you know how many touchdowns? I'm looking it up right now. You know how many touchdowns Sauce Gardner allowed last year? 1 second.
1.
Was it 1?
I don't know. I only remember 1.
Where is this statistic? Oh, here it is. 1 second. Yep, you're right. 1. That's correct. 1. He was targeted. Let's just...
I'm telling you, I watched every Sauce Gardner game last year, and all I remember seeing was 1.
He got targeted 74 times. 74 divided by... He played every game, right? So 74, I mean, that's not a lot. He got targeted 74 times. He allowed 34 receptions. That's a 45.9 reception. Only allowed 360 yards. Man, he's good, man.
Yeah, and by the way, we all know these are basic stats. Once you start going into the advanced stats and seeing, well, he wasn't really covering the guy. He just happened to be in the area, or it was a zone or something like that. Then you're like, oh my gosh, he actually only allowed 5 catches all season.
Right.
He is that guy. He is that Richard Sherman, that Jalen Ramsey, that Darrelle Revis. Don't even look my way, or you will be in trouble.
Well, that's the thing. It's so hard to put up really good numbers in today's NFL as a cornerback. To be like, you only allowed 100 yards.
No, the last target, yes. No, the numbers you're looking at is the guy that's not targeted, period. Teams know it.
That's exactly right. To only allow 360 yards in a full season in today's NFL, going up against number one receivers, which he does often, is just a remarkable feat. And they only get one touchdown.
That's last year. I don't know if they played or were hurt at the time. But that's 2 games against Tyreek Hill, and that's 2 games against Stephon Diggs.
Technically,
and neither of them. I don't think either of them scored the touchdown against him, and that's how many yards those guys got against him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Combined with everyone else that he went up against.
You don't know if he lined up.
World? He's in another world. He is another planet when it comes to cornerbacks.
You don't know if he lined up against them for most of the game per se, but he probably did for a good portion of it. And fair enough. We would have to get you can break it down by player to see how much this guy matched up against that player. That you'd have to dive a little deeper, but. Whatever metric you look at, Sauce Gardner is, an absolute beast. So,
he's the guy. He's him.
So it's gonna be fun to see. Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. On the one side, you got DJ Reed. On the other side, you got Sauce Gardner. It's gonna be a good Monday night game. I'm looking forward. Meisty, we are 2 hours away. Let's get this podcast out so that the Oilem can watch it before the. All right, guys, that was fun. We got almost an hour worth of stuff. This was about 50 minutes, this podcast. The longest podcast since the season, because when the season starts, we get more excited for football. It's the way it works, man. Let's do it, baby. Let's get this podcast out so you guys can watch it and enjoy Thursday Night Football and Sunday Football and a full season of NFL football, baby.
And that better work, bro.